Welcome to the Gonzalo and Jessica Show, becoming porn-free and empowering your sex life.
This is a show to help men to heal from pornography addiction and grow themselves into a healthy sexual life. All right, welcome to episode number 3, where the topic of today is regarding the 2 different primary reasons why someone might become addicted to pornography. And interestingly enough, even though you might be able to easily categorize yourself into one of the reasons why you started, there's a possibility that you may have started with one, but then the reason why you continue, you may have kind of almost slipped into one of the other categories. So take a listen and then take a look at yourself and analyze and become introspective to see what category you fall into. All right, I hope you enjoy this episode, and we have lots of goodies for you in here. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gonzalo and Jessica Show. Jessica, welcome.
Welcome as well to you, Gonzalo.
How's life? How's life in the Pacific Coast?
It's pretty great. You know, since we last did our recording, I had a super brand new experience that I was scared of, and I leaned into my fear, which was I went wild hog hunting, technically feral hog hunting.
Wow, how was that?
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, there was some army crawling, going through brushes. I learned my amazing friend is a professional tracker, and I went out with him and his wife, and oh my gosh, they taught me so much on day one. And so anyway.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Well, since the last time we recorded, I've been actually relating again. You know, I'm moving back to Miami. I'm relating again to the city, and the more I establish myself here in Miami, the more I'm confirming that each city has some sort of like a spirit, you know, a way to be kind of like a city shapes the way people are. You know how they say, you know, people can recognize the way a New Yorker is, or a Bostonian, or someone from Chicago, maybe, right? Miami has that thing. I think like every city has that. So I've been kind of like relating energetically to the city, and it's an interesting experience.
Right. Yeah. You know, I think as I listen to you say that out loud, I'm just going back into my own experiences and like, oh, visiting this city and this and this. And like, yeah, there's that like feel to it. And when someone comes from the city out to somewhere else, you're like, oh, I can feel that. I can feel the city in you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You feel the city. That's why when you visit a city, you can like almost immediately, you can say that you either connect with the city or not, right?
Yeah.
It is something like very energetic right there. Jessica, so obviously, since this is a show to support men that are healing from porn addiction, what is the topic today? What are we going to be talking about today?
One of my favorite topics. I'll probably say that every time. Well, it has to do with the reasons why someone might get addicted to pornography in the first place, why men might get addicted. And you know, this is something I meant to say in earlier episodes, just to acknowledge and recognize that women are also addicted to pornography, and almost everything that is said in this show can also equally be applied to women. And I just want to I don't want to leave the women out, but it is a podcast designed for men, but female listeners can also greatly benefit.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And as a matter of fact, when I started on this crusade of helping men that are healing from porn addiction, I remember that around that time, generally, statistics were like every 10 people, you know, addicted to porn, the difference was 8-2. And today, and I'm talking about like rough numbers, because like there's no like a serious study about this, but today is 7-3. So there is kind of like a movement on that, and more women are suffering with these, So in any case, just repeating what you just said, yeah, this is a podcast designed for men, but at the same time, most of the things can be applied to women.
All right. I just didn't want to, leave them out, because it's an important conversation for really everyone, even for people.
Exactly. Yeah. And not only that, but the fact that a man can be suffering with this, remember that there's always, when there is a man, there's always a woman around that man. Can be a sister, can be a mom, can be a wife, can be a daughter, can be a co-worker, like it is extremely important. And something that as I'm saying this, something that really comes to my mind is that this is a problem that is relevant today, and the numbers are growing. So when you hear porn addiction out there in the audience, don't think about a pervert that lives in the suburbs of the city. This can be happening to your brother. This can be happening to your husband, and you don't know that. And maybe, like your sexual life might not be like the best, and you don't know what is causing that. And maybe your husband is having this problem, or maybe all of a sudden, your teenage boy is isolated at home, and you don't know what's causing. So paying attention to this conversation that I'm having with Jessica is amazing. I learned from her, and you can learn a lot from this conversation.
We learn from each other. We're constantly teaching and learning from each other.
Absolutely. So let's I'm gonna start asking you a question, Jessica. What do you think are the main reason or the main reasons why men get addicted to porn, or how does I'm going to rephrase that? How does start? Like, is sometimes can be just maybe like a 10, 11-year-old kid,
Yeah.
And then carries that through time. So how this whole thing starts?
Yeah. And so there's two primary things that come to my mind immediately. Mm-hmm. One is just healthy human beings naturally will always have a healthy sexual appetite. And when we have an experience, when we have the opportunity to experience that, most people will say yes, because it's naturally ingrained in who we are. And when we know that there's easy access to that with very, very little effort put forth, very few people are going to say no to that. And so, easy access to the internet, easy access to a sexual experience. Now you have gone down the pornography rabbit hole, and it can suck you in very strong, very fast. And that can happen just because you're like, oh, I know that it's there, and I'm going to go seek it out. And another way that I hear so often is still fits under the natural curiosity, the natural sexual appetite of a healthy human being that starts in the teenage years, is a friend or a family member or a student, not a coworker because they're too young at this point, or children are exposed to it through their peers at school. They're, in many cases, it's actually a relative. It totally surprises me. And then they're like, whoa, I didn't know about that. And now I'm so curious. I am going to go seek that out now. So the natural curiosity, one way, and then sucks you in. The reason number two is almost a much larger area to explore, and that is using it as an escapism tool. And an escapism serves as a distraction from a discomfort in your life. That discomfort can come in the form of physical pain or emotional pain. Usually it's emotional pain. And so using an escapism activity, such as pornography, is a massive escapism activity, and you can forget about the troubles of your life when you're engaging in the escapism activity. And then once again, it's highly addictive and can pull you, and you get addicted to escaping from your reality. And so with unresolved childhood trauma, significantly increases the chance of addiction, and pornography addiction being so easy. It's like free crack cocaine in your pocket at all times. Yeah, and there can be things, like wanting to avoid physical or emotional intimacy because of someone hurt you in the past, whether it was being sexually molested or hurt you in the past in a different way. Pornography is an easy thing that says, pornography won't treat me the way that real life human being did. And then, so anyway, natural curiosity and escapism behavior.
Totally. And I mean, I'm totally with you because I've lived that, right? And in my case, it was natural curiosity. So picture an 11-year-old boy, right? And then I found this, like Playboy magazine that I found in my house. And one thing led to another one. And I got totally hooked on that. And there is something that parents must realize, and is the fact that porn is not what it used to be. Because I've even had, like millennials, that are now 20, 23, 25, coming with problems of premature ejaculation or problems with they have lost their erections, or they are completely isolated. They don't know how to relate socially to people. So those are symptoms associated to excessive porn consumption. And the parents say, no, but you know what? He's growing. It's okay. It's just a time of their life. I've watched porn in the past. No, when you were watching a porn on the VCR, it's a whole different story to the porn, because in the mid 2000s, this is what I call like the dark storm, right? And it's basically historically 3 main events happened simultaneously. And it created this monster that is completely different to the porn from the past. And remember that we are not trying to, moralize people, We don't have moral concerns on this, but we are actually saying that this is dangerous. So what happened with that storm, basically, the technology advanced. So computers, like things that had a screen, they started coming with an advanced video card that could load fast a movie. Before, with the technology before the mid 2000s, you couldn't. You had to wait for a while to load a movie. The second part is the entire planet paved with high-speed internet. And the third component is that the appearance of the porn tube sites, which basically the 6 or 7 big porn studios from the San Fernando Valley in California lost their power over the entire industry, because anyone in the world with a camera and 2 porn performers, they could upload a porn movie from anywhere in the world. So porn became infinite, anonymous, and free. So now kids that are developing their brain, they are right now growing up with this hyper stimulation that they get from porn. So when I hear someone older say, no, porn is just a time, it's okay. No, it's highly addictive and it's dangerous and it's detrimental for a healthy sexual life.
Absolutely. And I think it was about, everything that you're saying is very true and very, has had massive cascading effects on society. And I think it was around the year 2005 when the high-speed internet really became available and present.
Yeah.
And on a neurochemical level, how that made a difference is, the brain always seeks novelty, and especially in men, new sexual partners. And there's been a study done on this, and the name of that is called the Coolidge Effect. I know many of you have probably heard of that if you have been watching NoFap videos and things like that. And what the high-speed internet made available was constant novelty, constant new partners. And instead of waiting a really long time with slow speed internet for something to upload, or having to drive to the video store or look at a magazine, that took more effort, and there was less stimulation, less novelty, less new partners. I was just watching a video yesterday on one of my favorite comedians, Theo Vong. He actively and openly speaks about how this has been a problem for him. And he's one of my favorite comedians because, well, one, he's funny, but two, he speaks so open and raw and visceral and candidly about his deepest, darkest insecurities. And that's why he talks about his masturbation problem a lot on his YouTube channels and whatnot. He said when he was a teenager, I don't know the exact age he was actually, he used to ride his bike around, it was something like 7 miles across town. He would ride his bike, knock on the door of a man who he knew had pornography magazines, and would take the magazines into that man's bathroom and masturbate, and then ride his bike 7 miles back home. That's a lot of effort to engage in pornography with, like, maybe looking at one or a few photos still.
I can totally relate to Theo Vong. Let me tell you a couple of things about Theo Vong. Like one of my best friends recommended his content to me a while ago. I think he's brilliant. And the second part is we should talk to him.
I have so much respect for that man.
Yeah, we should talk to him about this, because obviously he has a huge audience, right? And I think this is something that this is not about like fame. This is not about like being popular. Right now, porn addiction is a public health issue. As a matter of fact, more than 16 states of the United States have declared porn addiction as a public health issue, So it is extremely, including the state where I live, the state of Florida, So by now, I think it's more than 16, for sure. Because the last time, I think it was Arizona that was kind of like debating something like that. But in any case, there are many people. We should do an episode on famous people that came out of the closet with porn addiction. Like we should do an episode on that. So I think what we would do, we would normalize this conversation. Because I'm talking to the audience, if this is happening to you, it's okay. It's okay, because the problem is when you remain with shame and guilt and you don't speak up, and then you think you're going to solve this problem by yourself, and it's not gonna happen. I've never met a single man that has resolved this problem by himself. You simply can't. Why? Because the container, the human container that is going to hold you and hug you when you need that emotional release and move all those energies, it is extremely important. So if you are out there and you're listening to this, just authorize yourself to ask for help. You can actually call Jessica. Jessica's an amazing coach, you know, and you can read my book. It's available on Amazon, Conquering Porn Addiction. You can start from there. So it is extremely important that if for some reason you are having this problem, brother, sooner rather than later is better if you ask for help. Right?
Thank you. Yes. No, you're right. You're 100% right. And thank you for injecting that in there. And, getting it back around to our original topic of why someone might get addicted to pornography, the natural curiosity or the escapism behavior, then, it's interesting because using it as an escapism behavior, it could be so, I want to touch on that a little because what are the things that people might be escaping from? I touched on it a little bit, but there's so much more. It could be simply the loss of a loved one. And now I know people who have used pornography as an escapism behavior when there was a death in the family or when their dog died or whatever it may be. It could be low self-worth. Low self-worth then says, I don't have what it takes to get out into the dating world and meet a real person who will accept me. Their belief is, I will be rejected. Pornography does not reject me. I will choose pornography. It feels safer because it won't reject you. You don't have to take effort and to be vulnerable to approach another person with unknown expectations of how they're going to respond to you. It could be so low compassion, low self-worth, an unforeseen difficult event, any unforeseen or foreseen difficult event. And the thing is while a person can escape in the moment, while they're actually engaged in the escapism behavior, pornography or other escapism behaviors, those painful, difficult, challenging feelings, it prevents them from being resolved. It prevents them from being resolved, and in fact, exacerbates them and makes them more intense and make them last longer and show up more frequently, therefore feeling the need to escape more often and to escape in a stronger, over time you might need a more powerful escapism, which leads to then, more extreme types of pornography, or which is upping the dose, you build a tolerance. And so one of the things that I think is under talked about is addressing all of those through emotional regulation, through stress management, through reducing the hypervigilance of the limbic system. Because if that part is ignored, then guess what? You might be able to, avoid pornography, but then there's an extremely high likelihood that you're going to just jump into another self-destructive escapism behavior.
Interesting.
Yes. So that inner work, especially for someone who started it as an escapism behavior.
Wow.
Really, yeah. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, and that's true. Like when I work with a man or with a group of men that are, battling with this situation, I usually say, like, hey, start building a beautiful life, and you're not going to want to escape from that beautiful life to porn, because one of the biggest realizations that I've had is kind of like, okay, here is porn, right? And you run towards porn, but from what you are running, And here there is a problem that maybe you've been putting under the rug for way too long, and is right there. And many times, like looking, like giving an honest look to that problem might be something difficult, might be something very painful, and sometimes is completely unbearable.
Yeah.
Especially like you were mentioning, for example, molested as a child, right? And that is something that you just like keep completely, down under, and you don't want to look at that because it's ugly, it's nasty, it's whatever adjective you want to put. But at the end of the day, it is part of your story. And unless you bring light to that and you integrate that into your life experience, it's going to continue bothering you. So talking to the men out there that might be listening to this conversation is whatever it is that was the driving engine that moved you to indulge constantly and compulsively with porn. Just okay, this is what life is being so far. That's it. Perfect. Just without judgment, just understand, and with empathy and self-compassion, start little by little, building building a new life, because that building that new life creates two things that are amazing to heal from porn addiction. The first one is that you start experiencing more joy in your day by day. That's one thing. And that's extremely important because emotion equals experience. And the second part is that when you start building a beautiful life, you start relating to people, and meeting new people always bring this new, this kind of like a breath of fresh air, So those two things, my dear.
Thank you. There were so many like things that were letting up in my brain as you were saying that. And one, my brilliant friend Gretchen said something to me just a few days ago, and it like locked in. And she said, you gotta feel it to heal it. Gotta feel it to heal it, which means you have to face it. You have to confront it. No more hiding and running away and escaping, but lean into it. Lean into it and feel it so that you can understand it and explore it.
I gotta tell you that I think Gretchen is brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, say hi to Gretchen from me.
Okay.
But yeah, she's totally right. You gotta feel it. As a matter of fact, you know what? That is a very ancient technique, because in Oneness University in India, they teach you to, like, if you are feeling pain, like we have this natural tendency in humans, especially in the Western world, we have this natural tendency of like, I want to run away from whatever so-called negative emotion is there. I don't want to feel it. So, for example, you go to Oneness University and you are there, and then you start doing this exercise and say, go and sit with that pain, and sit with that pain and feel it, and really experience what is that. Look, I'm going to tell you something like really sad and difficult, but I know this is going to illustrate an example for the audience, right? A friend of mine is a gynecologist, right? And she lost her son. He got shot in Venezuela, right? And she almost went crazy. I don't blame her, losing a kid. she almost went crazy. Like she couldn't, just imagine the situation, you cannot understand life anymore, that unbearable pain. So she, like, literally all in the limit, in the thin line of like really going mad, that you have to go to a mad house, but the last resource, somebody talked to her about this place in India called Oneness University. They just teach you to meditate and to relate to your emotions, right? And she was actually always trying to run away from that pain. When she got there, she was in an exercise, I think that lasted like 4 hours, just sitting right there with the pain, feeling that pain. And she said that literally she cried for 4 hours, but then after that, she saw the light. I mean, that's when, look, like I was being emotional when she was telling me this story, but basically what I'm trying to illustrate with this example is Gretchen is right. If you feel whatever emotion you need to feel, it's kind of like you are using up the emotion, you are burning it. Like because if you keep on running away from that emotion and you just like want to do this crazy Western tradition of, I just want to feel good, I want to be only light, I want to be like only, no, that's not the human experience, The human experience is a conundrum of everything. And we have to come to a peaceful terms that everything can happen, as a matter of fact, will happen in the human experience. So, and I'm saying this, Jessica, because I've been on the shoes of those men that are suffering with porn addiction. And I know the shame, and I know the level of pain that for whatever reason they are feeling. And it's okay. It's okay. Like, brother, I know you're listening on the other side, it's okay. Just self-compassion, love, and start over. As simple as that.
There's so much to say in response to that when you were just saying, feel it. Like, men have every single emotion that women have. And it is very normal, natural, and expected for men to have not only all the same emotions as women, but to feel them to the same level of intensity. And society shames men when they express it. And even if they're not expressing it to other people, men have been taught to feel shamed if they're even experiencing it. And that is so not fair, and it's incredibly damaging. And so I just want to give, for all of you men out there listening to this, you have 100% permission, 100% permission to feel it, to heal it, and to not be ashamed when it just comes in full force, and to embrace it and see how far you can take it. And then, so that's one part of the puzzle, but then not to get stuck in the loop of that. It can be very easy for people to get stuck in the loop of that, and then not actually heal and recover out of that.
I must say that what a beautiful conversation Gretchen sparked.
Yes.
Yes.
And she's actually the one who introduced me and was like, I think you might be interested in her, Kim Anami, who you actually learned under. As she's she's a tantric sex teacher, correct? Right?
Yeah. Kim Anami is amazing. As a matter of fact, I've studied with Kim Anami. I did my sexual mastery for men with Kim Anami, and it's just amazing. She's a great teacher. Yes. The thing is, Jessica and I, for the people that don't know this, after we both in different spaces realized that you cannot fight against your sexual desire. Sexual desire is natural, is beautiful, and it makes you happy. So instead of fighting with your sexual desire, especially coming from a space of porn addiction, basically what you start doing is integrating this into your life in a healthy way. So Jessica on her side is studying and, creating a career in the world of sexuality, and I'm doing the same. So obviously, we both entered into this space helping men that are suffering with porn addiction, but the evolution in Jessica, tell me your experience, because like in my case, it was a natural evolution of realizing that you cannot fight against your sexual desire. You just need to transform it and express it in a different manner. How did you realize this?
Yeah, I never had the moment of thinking where I needed to suppress it. Because I think maybe all along I knew like this is a very healthy and natural experience for people. And my thought was it's unhealthy to suppress it. And now for the people who are like, well, I have the urge every hour. You don't want me to suppress that? How can I act on that every hour? And it's not about that. It's about being in control so that it's almost like an on-off switch. When it's not the appropriate time for you to have the urge or your libido turned up, you can control it like a light switch. Oh, it's the appropriate time. I have this, the strength of mind technique to be in control of that, how intense it is and when it shows up. And that's like, puts you in the power seat, and it's fantastic. And so, yeah, if that answers your question.
Absolutely. And one of the things that and we're actually coming to almost to the end of this episode, but I don't want to finish this episode without asking you, when it comes to those main reasons, natural curiosity and escapism. So let's put it in like very plain terms, escaping from a sad life, let's say, right? Solitary life, whatever it is, a life that as a man, you don't like, let's say. And natural curiosity is like when your body naturally starts, especially for men, that at some point, their tiny testicles start changing, and in a matter of like 6 months to a year, they start segregating almost 400% more testosterone than before, It's like crazy, and it changes your entire body, And with that, super high potent hormonal movement, those men that at some point started with natural curiosity or escaping from something, they are now, and this is probably the men that are listening to this, they are now probably like 20, 25, 30, and they don't know how to relate sexually without porn. What would you say to them?
Well, that first of all, anyone can learn how to relate to sex in a very healthy way and to feel very comfortable with it. It's something learned. No matter who we are and what our background is, even if you've never watched pornography, it is always something learned. And the best way to learn is through experience, real life experience. And that being said, when you can also create experiences in your own mind that have you ever been, we've all done this. I'm not even going to ask if, because we've all been here many times when we're daydreaming and we forget where we are in our natural environment, because what is going on in our mind becomes more real than our physical environment. So when someone doesn't have the opportunity to practice have the experience with a real person in a sexual experience, you can go in, it's like a meditative state. It's just using your imagination and imagining the way that is actually healthy, not the ways that are in pornography, like how you actually want to engage in a sexual experience in a very healthy, physically and emotionally intimate way, where both you and your partner are feeling safe and protected. You can go in your imagination, and since the subconscious mind does not know the difference between real or imaginary, in your subconscious mind, it becomes real. And therefore, your brain begins to rewire to match your new experience and says, this is a part of who I am now. And you then have an upgraded neurology that says, this is the type of sexual experience that I engage in. Ones that are healthy for me and my partner, where we are physically and emotionally safe to be vulnerable in the right way.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you know what? Not only beautiful, but it's so true. And that resonates with me because I've been there. I've been there, and I'm telling you, that is exactly as you're describing it. I feel so much empathy for the men that are right now suffering with this, because once you are there and you are capable of like building a new life, you move forward from that space, it's possible, and you can show to other people that this is possible. So totally agree with what you say, and especially using that word, like you can learn. You can always learn, right?
Yes, you can always learn. And so often in this capacity, learning is a choice. And so leaning into that choice, embracing it and accepting it, absolutely. And there's something I really want to go back and say something that you mentioned like a while ago. You mentioned about creating a beautiful life. Now, we have consciously, everyone wants a beautiful life, everyone. But subconsciously, our self-worth, our self-value is going to actually be kind of the one in the driver's seat most of the time, because it affects most of our decisions. It affects most of our decisions. And if we subconsciously view ourselves as unworthy, if we're still living by the emotions of shame, unworthiness, lack of confidence, these are going to significantly affect our decisions and put up a massive wall to being able to create a beautiful life. And so we can list on a paper the steps that need to be taken to, like, how do I get a partner, the job, the career, the house, the whatever. And we can have conscious awareness of that. But if our subconscious is not in alignment with that, it's going to be like swimming through sludge to try to make it happen. The amount of effort is going to be so much greater, and the reward will be much reduced, significantly reduced. So if you want to create a beautiful life with less perceived effort, with actually larger and greater and better results, doing the internal subconscious work is, you just got to do it. You got to do it.
Amazing.
And yeah, I really wanted to add that. And one more thing that before we wrap up and see if there's anything else that you want to add, is I just want to rattle off a list of other escapism activities, behaviors, that if you say like, oh, I conquered pornography, I don't do it anymore, but then there's a high chance you might have jumped into another escapism activity, then again, it's going to be difficult to create that beautiful life for yourself. And so things, obviously the obvious ones, any, alcohol, gambling, hard drugs, those are the obvious, but social media, massive one. There's a healthy way to do it, and there's a self-destructive way to do it. Like I have social media, you have social media, and we use it as tools. Using it as a tool versus entertainment. I'm bored, I need a distraction. Very different, very different. And so neurochemically, any like Reddit, Quora, these things, anything that has a scrolling activity on your phone or computer or whatever. Scrolling activity teaches the brain to jump to a new topic. And it totally messes with your ability to focus on anything outside of that. Anyway, so any scrolling activity is so often used as an escapism behavior, and most people are unaware of the fact that they're, it's almost like you're bored, you're on reflex, you have 30 seconds to spare as you walk across the house. I want to pull out my phone, or I'm in the grocery store line waiting and I'm going to pull out my phone. And that is so neurochemically on your dopamine receptors and your dopamine sensitivity. Ooh, that's a killer. Ooh, that's a killer.
Totally with you. You have no idea the amount of men that I've worked with that once they got rid of porn, they got totally hooked on dating apps.
Yeah.
Because you swipe and swipe. It's a whole. So yeah, totally believe that.
That's a whole nother.
Oh my God. But it's the same, like you're replacing these, the amount of dopamine that you are getting for looking at this porn performer. Now you are looking at this potential mate on the dating app, So
yeah. And one of my favorite neurobiologist, Dr. Andrew Huberman, you guys will probably hear me say him a lot.
He's the best of the best. Like his podcast is just like gold.
Yeah, you guys go listen to his podcast, Huberman Labs. He's on YouTube, and he's also a professor at, I believe, Stanford University in neurobiology. And he said one of the most dangerous things for the human mind is to receive pleasure without having to put in effort or work to acquire it. And I'll just let that sit. You can marinate on that.
I think this would be a great way to close this meeting. But before we finish the meeting, I want to ask you a very important question, Jessica. You know what's that question? I know that out there are men that would like to know about your sessions, about your program to heal, to work with you as a coach to heal from porn addiction. Where can they find you?
I'm just going to put a link right kind of in the description, and it'll be a calendar that you can just, a day and an hour, and then I will literally be like sitting right here, and I will we'll have a chat. It's like a free 45-minute strategy call to create a plan. We'll figure out where you're at right now, where you want to be, how to get the roadmap for you.
Absolutely.
To get there.
And also, if you guys want to know about my experience, I'm putting also down here the link to my social media and also to my book. So Jessica, as usual, I always finished mesmerized, after any conversation with you.
Yeah, it's like, what, I've been thinking this and I want to say it out loud. Between the two of us, you are the better question asker. You always come up, you're such a good job at asking the questions. And in my mind, I'm like, I need to do a better job of asking the questions.
Well, you are great at answering the questions. So it's amazing. It's a great duet,
I agree.
Anyway, thank you so much for this for this episode, and for the audience out there. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presence on this podcast. Please disseminate the message, because this is way more than just a podcast. This is a life mission. So Jessica, thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you. And thank you, wonderful audience, for your curiosity and desire for self-improvement and life quality upgrades.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gonzalo and Jessica Show, where you are learning to become porn-free and empower your sex life.
Remember to subscribe, and if you loved the episode, please share the love with anyone that might need it.